Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this webinar on emotional intelligence at work. This short webinar, we're going to be probably 20-25 minutes or so, exploring some of the things that affect us when we're in the workplace, with a particular focus on emotional intelligence. Well, emotional intelligence, fantastic topic. It seems to be in on everybody's radar. Much more so than a few years ago, and I guess my objectives this afternoon are really to explore the topic and see what we can do to improve our own EI. Excellent. A few more people.
I think we're all good.
A few more people joining. So as people are joining, I'll just welcome everyone. And so those of you who've just joined us, a big welcome. Today we're going to be exploring the topic of EI and really kind of looking at the fundamentals of how it all works. So what are we going to have a look at this afternoon? Well, what is emotional intelligence and how do we apply it in different situations? We're going to be looking at some of the latest developments in neuroscience that illustrates how we tick. And we'll also be exploring some practical strategies for improving our own emotional intelligence. Super darts. Well, first place really to start is to think about, well, what is emotional intelligence? And there are lots of different definitions, and basically the ability to kind of understand what you're experiencing in terms of your own emotions, and for other people, and to pick up what's going on for other people, and to really use that information to guide what we think and how we behave in certain situations. So it's an interesting definition, and I guess thinking about there are a number of other definitions, and I guess the pearl catcher's definition, the one that I really like, is it helps us focus on personal changes that you can choose to make to get the best out of yourself and really engage and inspire and motivate other people in the workplace. We've all observed certain situations where it's not worked out particularly well. I'd like you to kind of just think on a moment where you've observed emotionally unintelligent behaviour that can often lead to a negative outcome. And think about what could have been done differently to improve the outcome. Okay, I've got one. I can think of a couple, actually, where particularly people may be feeling a little bit isolated or working not communicated or part of a strategy. I remember when I was working a few years ago for a large company, and that feeling of disengagement actually fueled negative thinking, which in effect meant it affected my behaviour. So I wasn't being as productive as I could have been. I guess thinking about it differently now, I would have probably asked earlier on for more conversations with my manager to get a better outcome. I guess in work scenarios, it can be across the board, whether it's a performance management conversation, the strategy workshop, or just a one-to-one conversation with somebody you work with. Sometimes they can be brilliant, sometimes they're not. Thinking about what is emotional intelligence, it's really made up of 6 key pillars. Starting at the bottom, the self-regard, the extent to which we value and accept ourselves. And this can be a tricky conversation, a tricky area to look at for some people. And it's made up of our experiences, our upbringings, and everything we've kind of experienced to date, and is effectively how we view ourselves. So that's the first kind of layer of EI. The second is the same, but for other people. The extent to which we value and accept other people for who they are, distinctly different from liking them. It's just accepting them. Now, those fundamental attitudes can drive different feeling states. I guess it's being aware then of what you're experiencing, and giving yourself what you need on the left-hand side, self-awareness, to be as productive as possible and to be effective as possible, which is the self-management piece. You know, am I drinking enough water? Am I getting enough sleep? Am I getting enough exercise? Am I managing myself based on what I need? So the left-hand column here very much looks at self. The right-hand column is thinking about others. To what extent are we aware of what other people are experiencing? And to what extent are their emotions driving their behaviour and affecting ourselves too? So there's kind of two-angled view on this in terms of um, our awareness of others and awareness of our own behaviour and its impact on others. So really, how well do we then manage those relationships? What do we do to notice when people are maybe needing something different from us than we expected? And I guess the three categories, regard, awareness, and management, fall into these three kind of areas of attitude, feeling, and behavior. And understanding how our attitude drives our feelings and how our feelings drives our behavior gives us a much clearer opportunity to think about how we engage with people. For those of you in the kind of training environment, when you have a room full of people, it's really taking the time to connect individually with each one of those people. For smaller groups, that's possible. For larger groups, that's more difficult. But really, to make sure that people are included, so very early on, they feel like it's important for them to be there emotionally to get the most out of the situation. I've been using a diagnostic tool. It's a questionnaire that's set up by a company called John Cooper Associates, a firm of occupational psychologists. And as a result of answering a number of questions, it gives us some feedback that we can explore to look at how effective we are compared to other managers, how we view ourselves, and how others may perceive our behaviours. It can be very effective at solving any team problems and creating a different organisational atmosphere. I will a bit more on that later. I'm just going to skip on to the next slide. So where I'm going with this, with the EI piece, is very much about how our attitude to ourselves and our attitude to other people drive feelings, which drive behaviours. The key to this is awareness of choice. We make choices every day about what to do and what not to do. And I guess here it's about how we unlock that within other people. So, for example, creating a team that's a truly high-performance team where there's quicker communication, a more atmosphere of openness. These are some of the solutions to problems that companies are facing and organizations are facing. And I guess it's about how we do that through training, through coaching, through consulting engagements, or enabling them to do it for themselves. I think the great place to start with it is to do some diagnostic, to understand what's going on. And what's great about the JCA profiling, the emotional intelligence profile, gives us some direct traffic light feedback on those 6 key areas. So, for example, here where you see green, that's where you rated yourself similar or the same as the comparison group. The comparison group comprises approximately 20,000 other kind of managerial managers, people in work. So it does give you quite a big comparison group. Where the traffic lights are orange, the green is better than the comparison group. The orange is about the same as the comparison group. And the red is lower than the comparison group. So by looking at the kind of initial snapshot, it gives you a focus for a conversation with someone on a one-to-one basis to be able to focus on what we can do differently. And I guess with all of this there is a big so what, and it's got to lead to some kind of development. So some conversations around behaviour. So here we get the opportunity to look at the score on self-management related to the score on relationship management. So how well you manage yourself in a matrix compared to how well you manage your relationship with others. And here the examples come up as kind of bottom left-hand corner, where somebody may be lacking self-confidence or be slightly pessimistic, detached, or have a low opinion of self. These can actually have a big impact on profitability, on what it feels like to be part of that team when you've got somebody in this position. And it can be not just training that's required or coaching. There can often be underlying issues that may need some kind of resolution before we can start to see improvement in this area. But it gives us a snapshot of where that behaviour focus is from, and that can give us some great ideas in terms of what to do next. So behaviour, let's look also at feeling. The diagnostic tool also enables us to get a score on self-awareness compared to our awareness of others. Our awareness of others here, we can be very focused on other people and not so much on self. Like this person is likely to put others' needs before their own. That can involve, staying late, taking on additional work to their own detriment. The aim here is to have a balance of this, the awareness. So we're aware of self, and we're also aware of others, where the present would be the ideal place to be. But it can often give us some indications of what attitudes are driving these behaviours. Let's have a look at the next slide, which looks at the attitude. And these can be often really tricky conversations. And I guess all of this, EI, it's a verb, it's a doing word. So whether somebody's got a really high score or a really low score, it's, are they being emotionally intelligent right here, right now, in this moment? There isn't a future, there isn't a past, it's right here, it's right now. Are they focused on you? Are they being as effective as they can be? And I guess with EI, when we start to have conversations around attitude, where it comes up as submissive or blocked potential, where somebody's regard for others is higher than their regard for self, that can sometimes be like opening a bit of a Pandora's box. So it very much, the conversations need to be in the right context, and with somebody who's kind of got some clear indications in terms of development ideas and pointers. The attitude piece, it drives the feelings, it drives the behaviours. So it is the kind of fundamental building block for developing our EI. And I guess when we start thinking about how we do that, what next? Okay, some of you saying they're struggling with some of the audio fading in or out. If you have got your video turned on, do turn it off. It does hog quite a lot of the bandwidth, and I will do my very best to slow down. There will be a recording of the webinar made available for people afterwards if you want to revisit it, and also I'm sure we can get you a copy of some of the slides for those of you that have requested them. Where next on EI? What next? Training doesn't work. It's what you do with it next that makes a difference. And I guess what I've been able to do in the last few years is start to think about how we build in EI practice when we're delivering training, so that people are fully engaged, they are receptive to learning, and we deal with any kind of emotional situations very kind of early on in a program. Ideally, I've done this also with country managers, managing directors, and kind of business leaders at a leadership level. And this is where the diagnostic tool becomes really valuable, and a great opportunity to think about, well, what is the impact of their behaviour on those around them? And what is the impact of the behaviour of those around them on them? To think about how we can manage self and manage others more effectively. This whole kind of feeling valued, feeling in control, and feeling liked and included are the three kind of key areas for me in terms of unlocking potential from an emotional intelligence perspective. And what's really interesting is how, as different people deal with conflict or disagreements, and I guess it all starts with you, in terms of the top bit here, the feeling state. We've all had days where you wake up thinking, oh, not today, which can lead to negative thoughts creeping in. It's going to be difficult, it's going to be challenging, it's going to be, and those negative thoughts can lead to perhaps not flexible behaviours, but very rigid behaviours, which aren't always the best for getting the results that we want, therefore compounding how we felt in the first place. I guess with the negative cycle on this, it's looking at how we break that at an individual level, where we have performance issues at work, but also how we capitalise this, because it works the other way too. You wake up feeling fantastic, bounce out of bed looking for a great day. We start thinking more creatively. We open up left brain, creative brain to solve problems. We can balance that with right brain activity in terms of being more analytical. It means our behaviors can be more flexible. Therefore, they're more likely to get us a better result. And again, that can, when we get a great result, that can compound and affect how we felt in the first place. So rather than it being a negative thing, it's looking at what are those things? Where can we break this cycle? The tricky thing is, in a training environment, I'd ask this, what can we do about this? Well, a lot of people say, what about down here, down at the bottom, the behavior? I can just, even though I'm having a bad day, I can just kind of smile and say, I'm fine. Everything's okay. It's perfect. Don't worry. And we see that a lot. People might not be fine, but they'll say it's okay. And that can often come across as a bit rehearsed or feel a little false. And you often know your intuition says, something's not right there. So we ask again, well, where else can we? By the time we get to result, it's too late. We can't do anything, good or bad. So where else can we have an impact? And people say thinking. And there's lots of approaches to think about positive thinking and the power of thought and being more mindful in what we do. However, if we are still feeling a little bit like having a difficult day, that can also feel like trying to push water uphill. So the conclusion here with a lot of the EI development stuff is, how do we affect the feeling state of ourselves and other people? Emotions are contagious, and actually with Pearl Catchers, the brilliant interaction for trainers on emotional contagion. And it's so true. If you're really with an upbeat, vibrant, inspiring group doing a good thing, then you feel different. And that can have a big impact on what you think and therefore how you behave. I guess with AI, it's thinking about, how do we introduce this? And what do we do to enable people to make some changes? And what can we actually do to change the way that we feel? Now, neuroscience shows us that exercise releases endorphins and helps us deal with levels of anxiety and stress. It's like mental filing. Exercise drives a need for better nutrition. I certainly know for those of us on the road a lot or traveling a lot with work, that it's easy to do two things: either not eat very well or eat too much. I'm certainly guilty of that one. Also, there's some research shows that people learn quicker, and accelerated learning can apply when listening to certain types of music. Music certainly affects mood and can have a big impact on the cycle that we talked about a moment ago. Surrounding ourselves with those friends, family, and the social aspect is also important, and a great opportunity to change the way we feel. Sometimes can be just giving to others, giving to charity, giving your time, and giving your expertise to other people can make you feel different. And also your connection with family and family time and you time can have an impact. Reconnection with nature. It's also been shown that people recovering after serious operations actually recover faster if they've got a view of green space. So reconnecting with, go for a walk at lunchtime instead of eating at your desk and carrying on, just taking a few moments to go and have a little walk. And also the quality of our sleep is also can have a big impact on our brain and what it does. Which brings us on to the mind. And I had a fantastic opportunity recently to work with a chap who does a lot of executive level coaching on mindfulness. And a big part of his work is meditation. Whatever sort. It's not necessarily religious, but it is a great way to get rid of some of the mental clutter. That can be a great way to focus and get clarity, is just by becoming thoughtless and letting everything go and just becoming in a relaxed state. Also, remember that day when you achieved the impossible whatever it was, recall that day. What were you doing and how were you feeling? Recapturing and reopening some of those neural pathways can help you be more effective in the future. I've certainly found this true with any new training ventures or new topics. And the next one, particularly visualizing an outcome, knowing what it is that you want to achieve can really help. What is the outcome? What do you want people to be thinking, feeling, and saying after your interaction, after your coaching call, after your training course? That can be a really powerful way of improving your results. Forgiveness and not bearing grudges and carrying lots of kind of baggage with you. Very important to let it go and be mindful of some of our intentions and actions. Be aware of the impact of emotions. I'm not saying emotions are a bad thing at work or a good thing at work. I think the whole thing here for me is about appropriateness and awareness, because EI is very much about, it's like a camera, it's like a photograph of you in the moment. And moments change, times change, work priorities change. The one thing that doesn't is how we view them and how we therefore interpret what to do next. And realizing that we do have choice. And that really is the kind of foundation in terms of emotional intelligence. And one of the most powerful ways I found to kind of include this in training topics, from assertiveness skills to leadership programs through to kind of business development and sales or service situations, is, well, how do we know what's going on for other people? Well, first of all, we need to make sure we make eye contact and use that intuition, that feeling you may have about a situation, to ask the question and test your assumption, and be more observant perhaps of body language, of your own and of theirs, and being aware of any judgments and letting them go, and avoiding classifying and judging people for their behaviours, just trying to uncover what's driving that behaviour, what's underneath it. And active listening, as opposed to waiting to speak or not listening. Really engaging, asking questions and probing and finding out a little bit more about what's going on. These small but significant areas can have a huge impact on how it feels to be part of that team, or how you approach a business problem or challenge, whether it's a performance management conversation or a team meeting. Some of these techniques and ideas that we'll explore in terms of how to put this into practice can have a huge impact on how others view you and therefore your effectiveness. I'm just going to click on to the next one. Let's have a quick look. So what next? What is this all about? Actions arising. Well, I guess we've all had a situation at some point where we've thought, I could have done that better, could have done that differently, using EI, or not getting emotionally involved in a situation. It's all about making a positive change. We are offering currently the emotional intelligence profiles that form the platform for the 6 pillars, plus a one-to-one kind of debrief coaching call. To find out more about that, do give Karen at Pearl Catchers a call on the number on your screens right now, and we'll schedule you in for a slot and send you some more information. I guess I'm just going to unmute you and just see if you've got any questions or queries or comments.
Hi Mike, it's Claire here.
Hello.
Can you repeat what you just said about the EI profiles?
Claire, with the emotional intelligence profiles, what we do is we just needed your email address, and we'll set you up with a questionnaire via the development hub at JCA. There's about 50 questions. It takes about half an hour to complete, and when you've completed it, it generates a report on your EI based on the seminar that we've just experienced, on the webinar we've just experienced. And it does give kind of clear development pointers to If you want to find out a little bit more about that, then do drop us a line at Pearl Catchers. We can send you some more information about how that works and how to get logged on to it. Folks, I very much thank you for your attention this afternoon. I guess from my perspective, running lots of different training events is how we then use emotional intelligence to make our training courses come alive. And one of the things I've been working very closely with Sharon on is how we create the really kind of emotionally intelligent facilitator. What is it that they do? What it makes them different from other facilitators, and create an environment where people really want to learn and get stuck into it. And we're going to be running shortly a 2-day EI for facilitators course in December for those of you that would like to participate. There'll be lots of games, activities and simulations that we use to really understand what's going on for people at the core, and how we then improve that to look at making events really inspiring for people so they come away really motivated to do something different. Okay, if there are no more questions, I'm going to sign off. You can find out a lot more about it. Have a look on the Pearl Catchers website, or you can have a look on my website too, on makingthelink.co.uk or pearlcatchers.co.uk to get in touch and find out a little bit more. Also, if you're interested in finding out a little bit more about emotional intelligence from a company perspective and would be interested in finding out more without doing the profile, then do give us a call and we can schedule an appointment for us to come and have a conversation with you about it. In the meantime, thank you very much, everyone. I wish you a very emotionally intelligent, great afternoon. Thanks for your time this afternoon, and I look forward to speaking to you again at some point in the future.